Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. We've got games, we've got different publishing companies, we've got PayPal, whatever. We got a lot of stuff to go through. This is episode 180. We're recording on May 11th. You're watching it on May 12th or later. Before we get to the news, though, joining us from her new location, Miss Quinlan Bowers, how are you?
I'm sitting as still as possible.
Yeah, your camera kind of wigs out if you move right now. She kind of got the camera together very quickly to do today's show.
Just sit as still as possible.
When you oh
no!
And now we get to see your Skype picture. Also on the line, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
We can just keep that up. That's fine.
Yes, you are not a big pink cat with green glasses.
Hey, that's Professor Genke, okay?
It's okay. I didn't know it had a name.
It's the spirit animal of my spirit animal, Johnny Gat.
Well, let's see if your video comes back in a few minutes here, but before that happens, let's get started with the news. Alright, our video is back. Fantastic. Just in time. Alright, so the first topic we want to talk about today, Carbine Studios and WildStar. There have been a few changes, and we haven't really talked about them on the show because they've been smaller in scale, but we got some bigger scale coming, and we actually got pictures of it. You can check all this out on MMOBomb.com. So WildStar at the beginning of April, there goes our camera again. Took down the faction barriers in some cases. So as far as content finding, faction barrier, the communications, typing back and forth, the factions, the Dominions in Exile, they were allowed to play together. Now that took place in April, and at the same time they launched a Dev Connect where they wanted to know what race class combinations players wanted. And apparently they already had an idea of where this was gonna go, because this week we got word that not only are they gonna do it, but they've already started working on a few, didn't they, Q?
Yeah, they already... I think they'd already had a previous Dev Connect anyway, so, they were pulling some stuff from that, and then, they're like, oh, and here's another one, so we can talk about this some more. To get things rolling even further. I mean, they've done a lot of stuff though, and I'm really glad they did the whole faction thing. That's one of the things that I always really liked about the Secret World. You can, barring PvP and guilding together, you could do everything with the other factions, and it made it really easy to find people to do random things with. So.
Jason, not surprisingly, we're getting the first ones up, which we don't have a date for yet. The first ones up are the RN Engineers and Chua Warriors. Yeah, little tiny Chua Warriors, baby. Is this going to be enough to get you back in WildStar? Because I think that's all you were waiting for, right?
Oh, no, this is terrible. I mean, why would you do... I thought WildStar was old school, hardcore MMOs, back when only big, burly races could be warriors, and you had all sorts of class restrictions. What is all this namby-pamby, catering to a mass market kind of stuff they're doing now? This is terrible. This is not what WildStar is about. This is not what it was built on.
You're a mess.
What are they doing?
You're a mess.
What are they doing? I don't get it. I want my hardcore rating back.
You are an absolute mess. In addition, the cash shop's also going to be getting items that people have asked for quite some time, race and gender changing items into the cash shop.
Just
of
catering
course.
to all the noobs and the casuals. Jeez, it's not what WildStar's about.
Also got the Vault of Archon content that launched last week as well, so a lot of new content at the end. So here's my thing on WildStar. It seems to be, even though the numbers, aren't all that great, they did go up with your poll at the end of last year, but maybe not as much as they would have hoped, they being NCSoft. Does the future maybe look a little bit brighter for WildStar? I mean, it's hard to imagine it looking darker. And I was honestly surprised, not only on the articles on MMOBomb, but on Reddit and other forums as well, that when these race class combinations start, and they're going to be doing more, the number of people that actually said, you know what, I'm going to jump back into this game, but I'm waiting for Steam launch, was quite surprising. It seemed like a lot of people were ready to get back into WildStar, but for whatever their own personal reasons, they were waiting for it on Steam, Jason.
Yeah, who knew that producing a game in 2016, like a game that's actually made in 2016 rather than one that's made in 2004, was a good idea? I mean, who could have predicted that? But really, yeah, well, the thing is, we're going to find out how well they've been doing any day now, because the next quarter earnings from NCSoft are due any day. Like literally, it could be like tonight for all we know, because they're in Korea, so they usually come out at night here. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And there was some other game. I don't know if it was NCSoft or because I know Nexon's doing their financial reports pretty soon too. There's some other game where we got the same kind of announcement of some new thing coming along, like a day or two before the financials came out, and we saw the financials were better, and it kind of made sense that they're talking about doing the cool new thing. So, I think they are looking up. They probably know those financials, and they're willing to invest this extra kind of effort into it because they know how that's coming along.
Yeah, I gotta believe, Q, at this point that, if WildStar was on its way out next month, 2 months from now, and, they did have layoffs and all that fun stuff that kind of foretold of maybe an early ending and an early exit for WildStar, but race class combinations, new ones, things like that, those are not initiatives that a publisher lets a developer go through when they're expecting the game to be shut down in a month or two, even if the dev doesn't know about it, just the publisher does yet. These seem like higher scale changes than you would allow a developer that you're going to close go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that. The one thing I was thinking of is it seems like they're putting out a lot of content right now, like, and a bunch of changes. And, I mean, just kind of looking at the history of games where they're like, we're going to do a whole bunch of this stuff, like one right after the other, that kind of thing never really works out. So I'm hoping that they're not overdoing it by just kind of doing all of these changes and adding all this new content and everything at once.
Here's the scary part, though, and Jason, you being a City of Heroes guy, you definitely know this. It's not just that it has to be profitable. We actually saw the press releases when City of Heroes closed that it wasn't profitable enough. So there is a threshold in profit that if WildStar doesn't hit at some point, NCSoft will let it go. It could be making, $50,000 a month, just throwing a random number out there, but if in their projections they want it to be making $75,000 a month, if it doesn't hit that threshold, it's gone. And we've seen it happen with some of these companies and other games.
It was interesting, though. There was an AMA by someone who worked on City of Heroes, and it was there near the end. And one thing he said was, back then, he specifically mentioned this is how it was, and maybe things have changed. He said back then, NCSoft had the opinion of go big or go home. If your game isn't going to be this huge success, they don't want it. So maybe they've adjusted that a little bit. Again, for the fact that WildStar has lasted as long as it has, even with as terrible as it was, the last most of last year or so, maybe it speaks to that a little bit. Maybe NCSoft will be a little more patient. And again, depending on what the expenses are versus the revenue, like we can look at the money they bring in. That's what shows up on the reports, and that is what they've been making the last few quarters is not that far off from what City of Heroes was making. The last few quarters we saw what it was. So on that level, you might say, oh no, they're going to dump it. But either maybe WildStar is a little cheaper to develop, or maybe NCSoft has changed their viewpoint to the point where they're not going to shove it out the door quite that quickly.
WildStar is like such a mixed bag for me. Like, it's one of those games that when I read like the Vault of Archon update and things, I'm like, oh, I got to get back into that. I enjoyed this aspect or this aspect. And then I play for a few hours and I'm like, nah, I don't really want to play anymore. Like, it's just such a mixed bag for me. I love the art style, the combat, okay, whatever. It's got its own issues. If you don't like the combat, then it's just not the game for you. But I'm all right with it. It's not my favorite MMO combat out there, but I'm okay with it. I just can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's just this, that X factor Q that we all talk about of if my friends play it, I'll play it. I don't care if it's shitty or not, and I don't have a lot of friends that play WildStar.
I mean, yeah, that's part of it too. And I think from what you're describing, you kind of like the idea of WildStar rather than
This sounds like a bad relationship.
Right.
I like the idea of us. I don't like the execution of us.
I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like. Yeah, you like and that was the thing when they were first making WildStar. I liked the idea of it, but not quite enough to buy it at the time when it came out before it went to free-to-play. So I never got into the bad relationship.
It just sounds, again, thinking about this whole hardcore mentality that they had. It just sounds like that whole, oh, I totally want this hardcore, awesome MMO that's tough, really punishing. Oh crap, this is hard. I don't want to play this. That's what that makes me feel like.
Well, it's like especially for people who used to be the hardcore players back in the day, and that was what they did. It's like, and it's like us now. Or like if you go back and you play like some of those old Nintendo games, and you're like, how did I even manage to do this the first time? Like,
hey, I bought the Mega Man collection on the Xbox One. I'm just gonna put that out there. And I have played it. I beat like the first 3 in Mega Man 1, and then I was like, yeah, I'm done for now. So yeah, it's kind of Mega Man and WildStar right now are having the same type of love triangle with me.
Wow. It's like you and a Chua and Mega Man. Wow.
Hey, as long as the Chua's a warrior. As long as the Chua's a warrior. Hey, good on them, though. It's really interesting to see where WildStar is headed. I like some of the things that they're doing. I like, obviously, the number one request, Jason, when they said, hey, what class race combinations do you want, was just unlock them all, please. Just unlock them all. Stop this.
Gotta be hardcore.
Right.
Gotta be just like old school.
So, but no, they're going to take it a step at a time, which makes sense. They're doing these two first. Hopefully we'll get a release date for those pretty soon. It looked like, the shots that we saw and we put in the article, they had already been working on these particular combinations for a while. So,
and they've been really cagey, I guess, about their Steam release, like saying soon and maybe today even, and then like we don't know. And
yeah, and that one seems odd, particularly because of how many people seem to be waiting for the damn thing.
Yeah, it does seem to be pretty well anticipated.
So let us know in the comments below. Are you going to play WildStar? Do you still play it? Have you played since launch? What's your status on WildStar? Or are you waiting for Steam? And if so, why? Just want the Steam hours thing and the cards? I don't know. What else happened this week? Oh, yeah. Tryon Worlds took Atlas Reactor and made it buy-to-play, Jason. I don't know if you heard.
Another one bites the dust.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard. Now, this one's odd. This one's really odd. This isn't like Overwatch Q, where we looked at the genre, we looked at Blizzard's recent history and development with Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm and said, okay, it makes sense if Overwatch is free-to-play. It's probably going to be free-to-play. We'll treat it as free-to-play until we hear otherwise, and if it goes buy-to-play, we'll just stop covering it. And then Blizzard finally said, buy-to-play, guys, and so we stopped covering it. Atlas Reactor really didn't follow this same formula. They went ahead and built a game completely around the idea of free-to-play, cash shop, buffs, the GG tokens, everything, skins, built it all out, alpha'd it, open weekend it, beta'd it, started moving to launch, and then said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and charge a box price for this one instead, Q. I was shocked at this only because of the way they went about it. Had they been mum on a model just like Blizzard did with Overwatch, I would have said exactly what Jason said. Oh, another one bites the dust. I would have thought that would have been free to play. I think the game lends itself to free to play. They don't. But this was clearly developed from the ground up as free to play, Q.
Yeah, and it is one of those things, like, I personally like buy-to-play, for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of things I like about it, so it doesn't bother me when a game goes buy-to-play. It really irritates me, though, when they come out and they're like, we're making a free-to-play game, and then, like, really close to launch, oh, never mind, guys, you're going to have to pay for it. Like, that's just cruel to your audience right there. That's a mean thing to do.
Well, but at least there's a company like Tryon that players love and adore in every way, and so they let them make a few mistakes along the way, right? Everyone still loves Tryon, don't they?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't know. This one shocked me, Jason. What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, unlike other games that we talked about, like Overwatch or even something like Lawbreakers, the thing that gets me about this is that those games, you can at least see, okay, people are going to look at that and they're going to go, oh, hey, it's a shooter. I want to try that out. I have an idea what a shooter is. Sure, I'll pay $40 to try it out. This really seems like it's a different kind of game. And because of that, it makes me wonder how hesitant people are going to be to jump into it, to want to pay 20, 30, 40 bucks to try this newfangled kind of game. If it was free to play, it's something you look at and you say, oh, that's kind of wacky. I'll go ahead and give it a try, free for a little while. Okay, now I'll pay for it. It seems like they really could hurt themselves in trying to draw a larger audience for what is an odd-looking kind of game that plays different from really just about anything else out there.
Yeah, and they used odd words in the press release, like sustainability. You know,
That I think really feeds into my thing too, because it's in the long term. You know, early on, right now, yeah, everybody's hyped about it, everybody's interested in it, they got all the PR. 6 months to a year down the road, when that's not the case, are people going to jump into this little game?
Right. They used whatever metrics they had on their side and they came to the conclusion that this wasn't going to be sustainable as free to play. And I just question, you know, I'd love to be in that meeting room just seeing, oh, okay, these are the metrics that they're using. That makes sense. That doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Because you had to get access, you had to win a key or have a Founders Pack. So you had a limited audience to begin with. By the way, if you have a Founders Pack of any type, then you're grandfathered into this. You're okay, which is good. That's the way it should be. In this particular case, and you'll get all the freelancers and future freelancers, and there's a bunch of different packs if you want to go buy it now. But you had a limited audience to begin with. You were flooding us with in-game currency to go ahead and test all the purchasing of the shop anyway, so there really wasn't... Like, you know how they do some of those betas where if you spend money, Jason, then they give you the money back when the game launches, but they would like to see, you know, how are people willing to spend money in this? They just flooded us with currency, and I'm sure some people bought additional currency because they wanted to do other things in beta, but if you're going to flood me with currency to the point that I don't need to do that, I'm not going to voluntarily. So I'm just unsure of what metrics, and we're trying to get confirmation right now. I got a reply just now from one of the PR people from Tryon. We're trying to schedule an interview with somebody on the team there and ask maybe some uncomfortable questions on this one, and we're trying to get it worked out. They're getting final clarification for us now whether or not that's going to happen, because I think there are odd questions out there. Like, what do you say to the players that kind of liked the idea of the game, got roped in by the free-to-play, and then you hit them with the whammy of, oh, by the way, it's not free-to-play anymore, Q? And these are all valid questions. It's not anybody being butthurt to me. It's, hey, I got into this because it was advertised as free-to-play, and all of a sudden, boom, it's not anymore.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is you've pretty much set up an expectation, and I think in a lot of ways, at least for me, free-to-play, buy-to-play, pay a sub, it all ends up balancing out about the same in the end. Like, I know if I'm playing a free-to-play game, it may not be like $15 every month, but if I go and average out all the money I spend in a game that I'm really invested in, it averages to about the price of a sub. But it's just, you know, on my terms, like $50 here versus $10 there kind of thing. And that's the way a lot of people want to do it. It's like they may not have $15 every month, but they might have that 1 month where they're like, all right, I got $50 I can spend on whatever I want, so I'm buying a bunch of stuff in game. And, you know, like, so going back and being like, oh, it's buy to play, so now you're absolutely going to have to drop whatever the price is, you know. It just doesn't work for a lot of people.
Yeah, and Jason, you already brought up the point of it's a niche game to begin with. Now, the feedback here is anybody that bought the Founders Pack, they seem to be overwhelmingly positive on the feedback of it going buy to play. And not just from I already got mine, so this doesn't impact me, but they like the idea of it in general, but they all echo the same concerns. That they're concerned at what this is going to do to the game's audience size, as far as being able to get a match and being able to actually play the game. And these are from the people that are fine with the decision you've made, granted, because they've already ponied up money anyway, and they have nothing to lose here, and they do enjoy the game, so yeah, they should be happy. But they also have been expressing that in the larger concept, it probably makes more sense for it to be buy-to-play. But the way you just did this, you really put a splinter down and fractured some of the audience off. Whether it's 5% of the audience, 40% of the audience, you know, who knows how many freebie people got in there. A preponderance of them are going to be Founders Pack purchasers. But you have definitely fractured your audience to some degree, Jason.
Again, they blame the developer for this one, saying they don't have a choice.
We're going to pull out the Arcade defense.
Yeah, there you go. Somehow XL Games is responsible for this. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's going to be something that a while down the road, when they don't have the constant presence on media sites and so on, it's going to be harder for them to replenish their people. Now, what I really wonder about, and I kind of wonder about this with a few of the other games we've talked about. I even talked about it with Overwatch. I did a column on it. And some of these other games, I just wonder if they're just deciding, we're going to do buy-to-play now, but we're sure as hell going to go free-to-play in like a year or so.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
I wonder if that's just part of the plan. Get the upfront cash now, and then we'll switch it out in a year. Kind of like what Elder Scrolls Online did. Not quite going free-to-play, but getting rid of their sub. That was an easy one to predict.
Here's the thing, though. That works for Blizzard and for Overwatch, because I don't feel like they screwed over any portion of their audience, because they kept it a secret. They didn't know what they were going to do. When they did, they announced it. They went that way, and then 6 months, a year down the road, they go free-to-play, and they suck up another wave of money. If Tryon does that at this point, that audience will go apeshit.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
they'll just go berserk.
Or any other company that we've talked about doing that, like mentioned Lawbreakers, or what was another one? Not that they would do that again with H1Z1. I mean, again, that's another company they'd be in great shape. But
this also isn't a game that the sustainability worries me. The only thing that I get, if I'm looking at this type of game, it lends itself to a free-to-play model, a la Dota 2, League of Legends, very similar models to that. So if you're concerned with that type of model not being sustainable, then to me that also kind of says we're worried that we're not going to get skins out fast enough, we're not going to get those cosmetic things out fast enough, those things that will be our primary income and would work, new heroes, freelancer rotations, things like that. That kind of maybe tips off in my head that they were more concerned with, we could make that model work, but we're not going to be able to develop on a fast enough time frame to make that model work like some of these other games do. Maybe that's the case.
It could be that too, and also this is only from the few games I played. I'm not sure exactly if it's representative of how they were planning to do it in the end, but I was making something like 1,000 currency for each game I won, and like the cheapest champions or freelancers or whatever were like 10,000 of the free currency.
Right.
Most expensive ones were like I think 50,000.
Right.
And there's no way I want to grind up 1,000 per match 50 times to unlock those guys. That just seemed like too much. And I wonder if that's what they were.
Spend some money for some GG boosts.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's what I wonder if they were talking about when they said, we just can't do this without making it seem terrible or whatever. And it's like, well, maybe if you altered how your costs were a little bit and didn't try to squeeze people so much, maybe then people wouldn't have complained about it. You wouldn't have gotten that kind of feedback, and it would be a little different. But
yeah, and then pretty much every other Tryon game imaginable, Q, received an Essentials pack this week.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the thing that bugs me too, is that, back in the day, Tryon knew how, when they switched Rift to free-to-play, they knew exactly what to do to, get people, basically, keep people happy enough that they were willing to go and spend $15 on a white tiger in the shop. And that's really the secret of the entire free-to-play thing. If you make the game good enough and people are happy playing it, they will spend money in the shop because they like the game and they want to support the game and everything else. And I don't know why they're having so much trouble with this now.
Because people stop paying. The well ran dry. I mean, it seems kind of easy. If I can keep you enticed, great. But can I keep you enticed for years over years over years? And with the market as saturated as it is, no.
Well, then why did they launch the game in the first place, or develop a game in the first place? They think we can't possibly compete, but we're going to launch it anyway. Well,
yeah, we're going to make another game when there's no chance.
Yeah.
This one just seems really odd to me because it was built from the ground up, clearly as free to play. It's like, what was the other story that was similar to this, where I was like, wait a minute, it was a Daybreak game.
No.
Where you and I were talking about it behind the scenes, Jason, and we were reading an interview. Oh, about EverQuest, wasn't it? And she was
Landmark?
talking about all the models aren't created equal, and when it was SOE.
Oh, that interview.
Yeah, when it was SOE and all things were free, yeah, great, but that doesn't work for some things. And so my immediate question was, okay, but you developed H1Z1 from the ground up as free to play, and now you're telling me that that game should not have been. You developed it from the ground up to be, and Atlas Reactor did the same thing. So, just very bizarre sometimes. Crazy.
I'll give them a little bit of credit because nobody really knew how they were going to make a survival game free to play. So that was
all right.
I think that was just.
I'm a little more critical of Atlas Reactor on this
Yeah.
one. Little more critical of it, and my question showed that, and that's probably why it's taken me days to get the answers to them. But as soon as I have the answers, post them on MMO Bomb. All right, finishing up today, Q. We were gonna talk about your Cyberpunk MMO. There's one on Kickstarter. You look pretty pumped about it, actually. What's the deal here?
I just happen to like cyberpunk a whole lot, so like the entire genre. So that's why I was kind of pumped. But yeah, I mean they're just getting started too, or at least when I wrote the piece the other day, I haven't looked to see what their standing is on the Kickstarter now. But they're just getting rolling. Although they'd been working on it since like 2014, I think.
Yeah, it's called Exile Online, by the way, from Exile Gaming Studio. And to be brutally honest, its Kickstarter is not doing well.
Yeah, I mean, well, Cyberpunk, unfortunately, is one of those things that when you want to talk about niche games, that Cyberpunk is kind of one of those genres. Like, it's like, I'm not a huge fan of the fantasy genre anymore, but literally everyone else is.
Which is why the Kickstarter isn't doing that well.
Exactly. Literally everyone else wants more fantasy games. I want Cyberpunk
Hey,
games.
don't use don't pay via PayPal and crowdfunding anymore because you're not going to get your money back. It's not a product, guys. It's just not a product.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how many people have been telling PayPal to get their money refunded over Kickstarter? Well, not Kickstarters necessarily, but over crowdfunded things because, like.
So we were going to spend a little more time on that topic. However, something exciting, or maybe not exciting, depending on your perspective. We'll get Jason Winters because this is a game he has been excited about for a while. So I'm really interested in your opinion. Gigantic from Motiga had layoffs. Looked like they were pretty substantial. Things were in trouble. We don't have money. We don't know what we're going to do. But they still move forward with some beta testing. Announced today that Perfect World Entertainment and the Arc platform have picked them up. What were your initial thoughts on that, Jason?
I'm not the type of person who's had just problem after problem with Perfect World, so I'm not that upset about it. And I think they can do a pretty good job of remaining independent and not being controlled by them, putting pay to win or whatever in the shop, whatever. It's kind of hard to do that with a game like this, just like Atlas Reactor, which whatever. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, if it allows the game to actually come out, if it still allows them to get whatever kind of funding or financial help they need to hopefully rehire some of those people that they said they were going to. I'm okay with it, especially if it's going to be coming out on more Windows platforms. I still haven't upgraded to 10 yet. I probably will someday, but
yeah. So the deal here on as far as what it's going to be available, and this is from the actual press release sent out today. The free-to-play action MOBA developed by Motiga Games. This partnership with Perfect World Entertainment expands the game's reach, allowing us to support players with Win64 operating systems via the Arc Games platform and a standalone launcher. This is in addition to the previously announced Windows 10 and Xbox One versions of the game. So hopefully get some a little bit more of an audience there.
I've got some questions into them too, so hopefully we'll hear back from them.
Lots of exciting things going on that we got to get answers for.
Need answers. You got to tell us.
Need answers. Give us the answers. All right, let's head over to the weekly bombs and call it a week. All right, what do I got here? I forget what I even put in here. Oh yeah, this is actually I like this one. Dub bomb to Blade and Soul. Finally reducing costs late game for upgrading your weapons. Now I just hope that the materials don't skyrocket in cost now, which is usually the corollary that happens here. Go ahead, Q.
Oh man, I kind of have nothing this week because I've been buried in the whole moving process, so I'm just going to give an A-bomb to moving, not letting me play any games at all or actually keep track of what's going on.
I'm giving an A-bomb to your camera, which is making you look like you work for Anonymous right now. Go ahead, Jason.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Boss Key Productions and Cliffy B, who are based in North Carolina, and they're putting gender-neutral bathrooms in Lawbreakers.
He doesn't like
Just
Cliffy
a big old
B.
F you to North Carolina.
He doesn't like Cliffy B. He doesn't want that anymore, man.
Whatever.
Little
Now he
respect.
doesn't.
Whatever.
Little respect. From the viewers, Forteg says, "Da-bomb to Dreadnought for inspiring me to expand my comfort zone with my games. I'm looking forward to trying it out when it comes out, despite the bad taste in my mouth left over from Star Conflict." Also on the Dreadnought front, Jason.
The Soul Card says, to be fair to Dreadnought, I don't think Mike liked it because he was very bad at it. I saw Jason tried in vain to hint to him several times that he was the only healer ship on their team. Rather than falling into the support role of his ship or switching to another ship that was better equipped for direct combat, he kept impotently smashing his healer-class ship against enemy tank-class ships and just getting crushed.
To be fair, I played most of that first look as a tank. This did happen at the beginning of that first look, but it wasn't the entire first look, for God's sakes. And that's not why I didn't like the game. Go ahead, Q.
Solace and Rage.
Okay, Q, never mind. I'm going to go.
I can barely hear you.
You sound like you're gargling water. Solace in Rage. Screw Terra. After being hurt at work, I wasn't able to play for a period of time, a little less than 3 months or so, and because a whale put in a name request, my main, the only tune I really did any endgame on, had the name taken. Spoke with customer service rep who told me up front, yes, I should have had many more months in the clear before a name change was possible, but they won't take it away from the pay-to-win player who currently has it. Uninstalled, issued a chargeback for the few $100s I put into the game that were within the dates allowed by my bank, and I'm done with them. As a subscription game, it was a lot of fun, but sadly, they are looking at Tryon as a successful business model to emulate now. It's a damn shame.
Everybody loves Tryon.
Tryon. Ugh. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, maybe Q could try this one. It's really short. Should we try it?
All right, go ahead, Q.
Shadow Wolf, A-Bomb to Battleborn, bad launch. A lot of people, frame rates per second are running 12 FPS or lower, but somehow in closed beta and open beta, it fixed FPS.
All right, that was mostly understandable.
I think we'd be lucky for Q to be at 12 frames per second right now.
All right, go ahead, Jason.
All right, Joshua Knight says, A-Bomb goes this week to Digimon Masters Online. My brother wanted to play it with me the other day. Biggest pile of shit I've ever played. Glitchy, terrible controls, worst English translation I've ever seen in a game for a long time. After 1 hour, I could not continue anymore.
Gotta catch. Oh, no.
No.
Digimon
Masters, Digimon, Digital Monsters.
Different monsters. Apologies. Wavering Snowbear said the people that work on the U.S. Terra have no say in the classes. Understandable. NMAS is the publisher, not the developer. Korea's Terra loves to pander to perverts over there because their player base is mostly guys playing as slutty women. At least, that's what I heard.
Fine investigation right there.
I love that little
That's
disclaimer. At least, that's what I've heard. Fantastic. All right, Q. Your camera is looking clear. Let's see what your audio is.
On this long one?
Yeah, do it.
Sounds good so far. Just don't move.
Damian Newell, I have a question for the MMO bomb community. I have almost completely stopped playing video games over the past couple of years, playing a couple rounds of Hearthstone once in a while, like every few months. I have had a hard time finding a game that I want to stick with. Games are always better when playing with friends, and almost none of my friends play the same games anymore. I've tried a few MMOs over the years and quit all of them for one reason or another. Hostile communities, shallow gameplay, and single-player mentalities are a few of the things I've come across. What are some games, MMOs preferably, that you guys play that have some great communities? What are some games that you think I should try to play to get me out of this slump? I really like PvP, group play, small groups, preferably 5 to 10 player teams, and games that require reward player skill. Some of the games I've played most in the past are WoW, Terra, League of Legends, Guild Wars 2, but I'll try almost any game at this point.
Oh, we made it.
Almost made it to the end.
We made it just to the end there, but we got the point of the question. All right, so Damien, for me, I would say if you're willing to go a sub route, Final Fantasy XIV is probably going to hit the spot for you on the small group side. Everything's done in 4 and 8 with the occasional 24-man thing going on, which is always a interim thing that you don't have to do if you don't want to anyway. It's not going to scratch the itch on the PvP side of things at all. The PvP is shoehorned in there and isn't that great, although people seem to like the new Feast a little better. If you're looking on the free-to-play side, for me, I would go back to Guild Wars 2 out of your list. If you're down with League of Legends, then I would probably recommend checking out some of the spin-offs that we're seeing in the MOBA space, things like Paladin, stuff like that. If you're looking for an MMORPG, I've been playing a lot of Neverwinter, surprisingly, lately, so there you go. I'm going to jump back into Rift and WildStar, but those probably missed the boat for you based on your preferences. What recommendations do you have, Jason?
World of Warships, definitely.
It's always about
I love the World of Warships. And if you like something a little bigger, Planet Side 2 is out there too. And you can do some stuff in smaller groups there too, but you'll often run into the big, huge battles too from time to time.
Q, you got any recommendations why you're not roboted out?
Am I not? Well, I mean, as far as like the small groups and stuff like that goes, Secret World is pretty good for it. I think, yeah, for the PvP, like if he's really invested in PvP, I would definitely, look at maybe more of the MOBAs and stuff like that, and hop into those. Although, again, the hostile communities are a huge issue in those. So
Yes, they can be.
good person, sure.
Question of the week last week. How do you feel about lockboxes in games? We kind of debate this behind the scenes pretty often. What say you, the MMO bombers out there? Tepic says, I loathe free-to-play style lockboxes. By their nature, they're exploitative and try to latch onto the worst elements of addiction. They don't publish the odds of getting the main prize, so it could be as low as 0.001% as estimated in Neverwinter's ones. They're designed to get people to gamble real cash frivolously, which itself is usually obfuscated by in-game currencies to make you think you're spending less than you actually are. Studios exploit further by focusing on lockboxes, then selling subs that give you keys each day you to open one, creating an illusion that the sub is a great value. Damn it, Tepic, that is so dead on that I don't really know what to say. Go ahead,
If
Jason.
only they weren't funding like 90% of a game's development.
True.
Brandon Flagg says lockboxes suck. As far as I know, they've never been done right, and there's no way to do them. When you're after one thing, you should be able to get just that thing. And he adds a general comment. At the start of the show, you guys talked about WoW and Final Fantasy XIV and their player bases. What I found in Final Fantasy XIV is that people tend to play the content clear, savage, / finish the story to the point, then unsub again until the next content patch. I know that happens in both games, but it seems to be more prevalent in Final Fantasy XIV over WoW. Just what I've seen in the raid / casual content person.
That is definitely a fair assessment.
If that was the case, there'd be nobody playing WoW right now because they haven't had a content update since like 5 years or something.
On the Final Fantasy side, that is pretty darn fair. Go ahead, Q. Real short one for you.
Joshua and I, 3 words: Star Trek Online. Terrible lockbox system, and a lot of really awesome ships are locked behind them.
That is very, very true. That is
All right, so when I said there's nothing wrong with Perfect World, there is still that.
very true. Elusive X Treasure for the question of the week. I have bought lockboxes for both Rift and Star Wars The Old Republic. I quickly stopped buying them for Rift since the chance of getting the shiny seemed next to nothing. And Star Wars contained items I deemed useless, such as experience boosts and rep items. For rep you could only gain via lockboxes, blah, blah, blah. So though I've purchased some, I have felt in one way or another that they were always a bit of a ripoff. I get their appeal. It's the same thing as opening a brand new pack of trading cards. When I first got into Imagination, a card game, my 3rd pack ever contained a rare that my friend had to buy individually to get. He was mad at me forever, but it was a fun feeling. And it's kind of the same idea with lockboxes. However, I think you should be able to build your lockbox. For example, you give it 4 slots, a mount or a costume might take up 2 slots, whereas a boost or a pet would only take up 1. You still wouldn't get to pick exactly what you got, but at least you get the type of thing you wanted with still having randomization. Just as an aside, it would have been better if you'd had popcorn Magic Man, just saying. Yeah, because I crunched on vanilla wafers while Zach tore into the World of Warcraft community. I kind of like that idea, though, Q, and it immediately made me think of Ion, right? And their cash shop with the buy a bundle type thing, and here's the slots, and here's how many slots things take up. Drag them in there and buy your own box.
Yeah, I mean, and it's called the Cube in Ion, but yeah, and they have like two different cubes. One is, you know, like smaller and square, and the other one is like this tall rectangular thing. But yeah, that's exactly how it functions. A sword will take up 3 slots, a potion will take up 1 slot, you know, things like that, and you slide what you want into it, but it's not really random like this is talking about. You're picking the actual items you want for that.
Question of the week for next week. Gigantic, now under the Perfect World Entertainment banner. What do you think? Is this a good thing for Gigantic? Is it a bad thing? Well, I mean, it's probably going to come out now, so I guess that's a good thing. But long term, and for you as the players, is this a good thing, a bad thing? It could have been worse in my book, but I'll express my opinion on the next show. Until next week, Jason, where can everybody find you, sir?
You can find me on the Twitter at Winter Informal. And I give props for mentioning Magi Nation. I used to like that game.
There you go. Q.
On the Twitter equivalent, although I'm not really doing a lot there right now because, you know, moving.
And you have to you can only upload like 1 tweet per week because of your internet. That's all you can get through.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at magicman1, MAGICKMANN1. Of course, you can also come over to mmobomb.com. Check out all the great articles, interviews, Jason and I, previews,
Someday.
Jason and I. We got a lot of good stuff coming up over the next week or two, so come check us out. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.